Aditi Nair of ICRA for some perspective on state finances. Aditi, good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us here today. I think what the central government give it, the state governments take it away, at least in terms of the borrowing ease in the first half.
Thanks, Ira. I think, certainly the indicative borrowing number that has come out is significantly larger than what we would have expected for Q1, and is also much larger than the actual borrowing figure that took place in Q1 of last year. So versus about 65,000 crore, it's almost 1.2 lakh crore worth of SDL borrowing on a gross basis that has been indicated by the RBI for the states for Q1 of this year. Now, I think we need to keep a few things in mind. First of all, this is an indicative signal given by the states to the RBI, and the actual borrowing often ends up being quite different from what this indication tends to be. So it's not like Government of India, where once the borrowing calendar has been set, only in very rare circumstances is there a deviation from that within that quarter or in that half year. So firstly, a little bit of pinch of salt coming in from that side. Secondly, our understanding is that there have been some changes that have led to a modification in the expected cash flows of the state government. So particularly after GST, this would be a time when the state governments are going to be reassessing what they think their quarterly or their annual cash flows are. And also our understanding is that there actually is a change that has been made in the calendar for central tax devolution from Government of India to the state governments, and that possibly is something that is going to really lead to quite a big change in the cash flows of state governments. So as opposed to the earlier format, where on the 1st of every month pretty much the budgeted central tax devolution, 1/14 of that used to be transferred to the states on the 1st of every month, and then in the last quarter typically we used to see that the adjustments would be made. Now what we believe is that for certain parts of central tax devolution, the funds will be coming in every month, but for direct taxes, which is the income tax and the corporation tax, Government of India will actually only transfer the funds once a quarter. So this seems to be in line with the advanced tax calendar, because Government of India also gets the bulk of the funds against these taxes once a quarter. So I guess it's only fair that their devolution to the state governments is also going to be once a quarter from now on instead of every month. But this is something which is a pretty substantial change as far as the state's own cash flow management is concerned, and perhaps that's why we have this really big practically a doubling of the amount that they've indicated for the gross SDL for Q1 FY19 as compared to Q1 FY18. So that plus maybe some of them have thought that because Government of India has back-ended their calendar, they might have expected yields to be lower in Q1 and tried to take advantage of that. But certainly this is something that has quite changed the trend of yields from what we expected in terms of the positivity that had been imbued not only by the central government's calendar for H1, but also the amortization over 4 quarters for the bank's MTM losses and the extended pause indicated by the RBI, as well as the FPI limit hike.
Aditi, this has not been announced, right? Sorry, just a quick, because I haven't read anything which formally says that they're going to change the timeline of devolution to the states.
I think these are internal communications perhaps that don't get published in the public domain, but this is our understanding that it has been communicated by Government of India to the state governments that there is going to be a change in the calendar of the receipt of central tax devolution.
Okay, so after all that's taken place,
all such communications from Government of India to the states usually are not put in the public domain.
Okay. My question, Aditi, is then, so what then happens to yields? For the simple reason I asked, for all those reasons that you sort of enumerated. One, the increase in debt investment limit, the cut in the government borrowing, and the RBI allowing MTM losses to be staggered over 4 quarters. One thought all this is good news. Where are yields headed from here on then?
So did we. We had expected the 10-year G-Sec yield to trend in a range of 7 to 7.3% in Q1 before the obvious fiscal risk started to worry the markets in Q2 and really took hold in H2. So that was our expectation as well, that eventually the markets would start looking more closely at the fiscal risks for Government of India, evolving risks of any fiscal slippage, what would the H2 borrowing calendar look like, and addition to that, the markets would start looking at the inflation risks, particularly after there was a clearer picture of the monsoon and MSPs, which still isn't there, but the sudden pickup in crude oil prices in the last couple of sessions has certainly added to concerns on the inflation trajectory. And there are a lot of known unknowns as far as the inflation trajectory is concerned. So we've been maintaining that even though the RBI gave, or the MPC gave, a very clear indication of an extended pause in the April policy, yet because of the fact that we didn't know or don't know what MSP, monsoon, commodity prices are really going to do toward the second half of 2018, it would be difficult to rule out a rate hike altogether. So I think that is again something that we will keep revisiting our expectations on that front as more and more data comes in. The other thing, the FPI limit hike was a little bit smaller than what the markets were expecting, but bigger issue is looking at what's going to happen to global yields. Will FPIs really have a lot of interest being sustained in buying Indian debt through the rest of the year? This month, of course, FPIs have been buying. On the flip side, the banks' demand, which we thought would come back after the dispensation from the RBI, and also because the maturity buckets that the H1 calendar has indicated, we thought would take the pressure off, and at least some demand from banks would start coming back, but they've actually been net sellers in the last few sessions put together. So there are some concerns which we thought would become much bigger issues in Q2 and H2, which I think now have really been upfronted. So the drop in yield seems to have been far more temporary, and the volatility which we thought would not be there in Q1 really seems to have come back very quickly.